Blessed assurance.
Go ahead,
Come on,
Ralph.
Ange. Yo, y'all was singing it before, B. Let's go. Blessed assurance. Come on, Ange. You gotta go. You the worshiper, B. I started.
Breaking out hymns from the 40s. I don't know the words.
Jesus is mine. Yeah, leave
It's
it
a
out.
dope song,
What
though.
a
It's dope.
foretaste of glory divine.
Oh, we killed it.
Yo, we killed it. We murdered it. That was
Should we start all over, please?
No.
Nah, man.
I'm gonna keep it.
Listen,
I love that song, but I just don't have it memorized, man.
we get a
But it is a
we
beautiful
get an A
hymn.
for effort.
Beautiful.
We tried, B. We tried. That's all the Lord be asking, dog. We tried. We
A
tried
for
to
effort.
worship, B. We get an A for effort.
What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to the No Part Show.
Whoa.
It's good to be here. Good to be here this week.
Yo, Marcus, you got fired? Let me find out.
I guess.
Somebody take too long, right? You know we trying to get up in that word, baby.
Whoa.
Angie's in a rush today, man.
Wow, B. I didn't know you got fired when you got your pink slip.
Hey, man.
Yo, man.
hard out
you
here
had
in
one
the
job,
work-
B. You
in the
couldn't keep that
workplace.
one job.
It's a team effort, bro. It's a team
You
effort.
had one job, B. You couldn't even keep that one job.
Man, gas prices is high out here, baby.
Oh, man.
Nah, but what's up? How y'all doing?
Good.
I'm
How
blessed.
you guys doing?
I'm blessed.
Welcome to the No Part Podcast.
Mm.
I got Angela to my right.
That's me.
I got Ralph to my far right.
Yo.
Mike to my left with the Av shirt.
Yo, man.
The joint is hot.
That's crazy, dog.
And I am the timekeeper with no time.
Yeah,
I got you.
We're
I
going to
feel
wing
we were
this
naked.
one. We're going to wing this one.
I can't get over the fact this guy really just did your part, man.
Yo,
I'm gonna keep that to
relax
myself.
yourself, son.
Yo, dog, this guy
Now you're trying to start a beef.
your one job.
Trying to start a war. up
Chill,
in here,
chill,
son.
B. You got one job, B. So how you guys doing? How is everything?
Yo, being
Listen.
that we're gonna be talking a little bit about like marriage in a sense, I went to 2 weddings recently,
Nice.
and Christian weddings are the best because the individuals getting married understand the covenant and they understand what they're getting into. But it was just such a beautiful wedding. My boy Jodeci and his wife Kaylina, just to see how God blesses marriages when you do it the way that it was intended to be, and we know them from our church, younger brother, younger sister in Christ, and they were pure, they waited until marriage to do anything, to kiss, and it was such a beautiful sight. Like, it was emotional to see.
Oh, yes, it was.
2 young people, attractive people. It's not like, they were busted, but they were attracted and they
How about if they was busted?
no, but it's easier for busted
I'm
people
busted.
not to.
Yeah.
Yo, we got
wait,
to
wait. You heard what he said? It's
What he
easier
said?
for busted people to what?
To not. Wait, what are you talking about?
This guy.
Man.
Yo, why you been falling for Marcus's trap?
All I'm saying.
He didn't fall for his trap. He said what he
Yeah,
said,
my man
man.
said 2
Listen.
attractive.
All I
He
said
it's
was they
easier
was
for
attractive
busted
people.
It's
He said
easier
you'll
for
be
busted
there
people
with-
to smash. That's
No, listen. It is what it is.
because you busted, and you don't get a lot of opportunity.
So tell me what.
You see how the enemy works? Yo, the enemy works, bro. I'm trying to give just.
Nah, we gonna get back to it,
beautiful
but we got.
interpretation.
I want to hear that breakdown. I want to hear the busted breakdown. You saw he almost sneaked that in. I was like,
Word
wait a
up.
minute. What does them?
Yo,
how
when
would
you
it be-
talk about, I ain't trying
I
to
gotta
sneak
finish
nothing in.
this
All
story.
I was saying is just to see
I get what you were saying.
a man and a wife come together, and
You know why? Because he knew.
When he laughed, he know. He know he had a
listen.
Peter moment. That's what I mean. A Peter moment.
Yo, but I cried.
Oh, yeah, me too.
We cried because it was just beautiful, and I just want to shout out Jodeci, Kaylina.
Yeah, shout
we love
them
you
out.
guys, man, and
Yeah.
and God is gonna bless that relationship, that marriage. You guys waited, you were faithful to God, and it's just awesome to see that happen because they did it, and God was honored. The enemy didn't win. You know what I mean? The enemy tries his best to make people fall, before marriage, and it's just awesome to see a couple do it the right way. So shout out to them, and if you're out there and you're in that situation, just hold on, man. Just wait for the Lord, because it's not worth it to fall and to do it the way the world is doing it. So yeah, hold on, guys.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Just watching her walking down the aisle with her pops, and her family, it was just a blessing, and just to see how powerful marriage is and all the symbolism that's behind it was such a blessing. Because you know what I'm saying? And people don't even know, like, just that little act alone of her father walking her down the aisle. That's a picture of when God took Eve and brought her down the aisle, right, to Adam. That's the same picture of the Father. You know what I'm saying? So people don't even realize all the symbolism pointing back to the scriptures. And like with the two aisles on either side, that's a picture of the covenant. You remember in chapter 15, you have to split the two animals or whatever, and God will walk down the aisle, and this is the covenant. You know what I'm saying? So it's like all these things are symbolism in marriage that people don't even realize and just take it lightly. So that was beautiful, man. That was so emotional.
And that's why the enemy is doing everything he can to redefine it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
To redefine what it is, what it means. That's why it's such a big deal. You see it in society, in our government, the laws. You're seeing the enemy trying to redefine what marriage is, and it's because it's God's institution.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was the first institution that God, set between, a man and a woman. So
that was the first covenant.
Yeah, that's the first covenant. So it's deeper than just,
right,
people just wanting to have rights to be married.
Right.
It's way deeper than that. It's a war against God.
Would it appear like the enemy is winning that battle? At least in America.
Yeah. It appears that way.
It would appear.
Yeah, it appears that way.
Less people are getting married.
Mm-hmm.
Less people are having families. Everything's more self-centered now.
Right.
It's about self, and because it's a sacrifice.
Right.
At the end of the day, starting a family, getting married, it's a sacrifice. But it would appear that the enemy is doing a very good job misrepresenting that covenant that God created.
Right. And unfortunately, even the ones that are getting married aren't going into it understanding the point of marriage. They go into it thinking that their spouse is supposed to make them happy. So when they're not being made happy, they feel like they can just leave that covenant. And even with Christians, I think that it's, a little bit over 50% of Christians, wind up getting a divorce. And that's because they don't realize that, it's not the who of marriage, it's the why. Why do we get married as Christians? And that's just to be an example of God to the world, to serve God, to honor God together, to grow and to become more like Christ, not to be happy. The happy part is secondary. You know what I mean? God is so gracious that he allows us that companionship, that intimacy, the physical intimacy. All of that is just secondary benefits to the main issue, which is honoring God and serving God and being an example of God here on earth to the world, which is why Satan hates Christian marriages and tries to destroy them, because we walk around as images of the Trinity, with God the Father, the wife, the husband. It's a image of the Trinity, and the enemy hates that. So if you're in a marriage right now and you're contemplating getting out of it, please don't. Work on it. Go to God and see what he has for you, because there's not much better out there, right? This world it's out of control in these streets. So if you're married,
that was a cry for help.
If you're married, stay married, because there ain't nothing in these streets, bro.
So Paul does use that illustration in chapter 7, but before we get to that, chapter 6, right? What we read last week, real quick. How would we it's a letter, right? And everything's going from, there's no breaks in this letter. So in chapter 6, Paul was talking about being dead to sin, right? And he used the illustration of baptism, where you're dying and identifying with Christ's death, and then being receiving life in Christ, and no longer having that tyrant of sin to rule over you, right, to enslave you, and that you have a new life. There's no need for you to continue to cooperate with sin, right? You don't need to give in to sin and cooperate because you're dead to sin. So that's
Amen.
what chapter 6 was about. And what do you say in 6?
Verse 4 was important, where it tells us to even so we should walk in the newness of life.
New life, yeah.
Exactly. Like once we died to sin, it's not, and even though the consequences of sin are no longer there, that doesn't give us the liberty to just sin and do what we want. That's how he opens the chapter, because some people, the main attack, I think, on free will and just this whole chapter was, do we have to still live by the law as a Christian? And even though it doesn't give us salvation, the law, but we still have to follow the rules, the commandments, as best as we can. But it no longer, our salvation doesn't depend on it.
Yeah, verse 15, it says, what then? Are we to sin because we are not under the law but under grace? By no means. And
Go ahead.
yeah, no, it was just at the end of the day, it's about who you're gonna serve. It showed you clear that you can't serve the law. Man can't serve the law. Man is sinful, so it's like,
Well, I mean, he's not even really talking about the law in this one, right? If you really think about his audience, he's talking about sin, because there's a group of people, they just lived, they didn't have the law. Actually, in chapter 7, he's now going to be focusing his audience to this group within the body, right? Because obviously he's talking to the church that understand that order,
right,
which is the order of living under the law. But these people, obviously living under sin, lawlessness, right? We went over that in the first few chapters. They just did whatever they thought was right. We did whatever we want. But they still had that conscious element of it where you knew right from wrong, obviously. But now Paul is saying, hey, now that you have new life, now that you've been born again, you don't have to cooperate with that. Like you actually, in verse 14, he says, for sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under the law, but under grace. Now you cooperate with grace. You cooperate with Jesus Christ. That's how you move now. So now, Paul, we're getting into the, how do you live? All right. We went over the gospel in chapter 3. Okay. Now that we have the gospel, what do we do with it? And that's what he's kind of getting into now. So now when we jump into chapter 7, he's talking to a particular group within that church, specifically his Jewish brethren, right? Any other thoughts? Or
no, I mean, I'm ready to start.
So let's read, man.
All right.
Read. Let's read just the first verse.
Or do you not know, brethren, for I speak to those who know the law, that the law has dominion over a man as long as he lives.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think now this is a direct answer. I think when he beginning from verse 1, he's answering what you were saying in 6:14 when he says, for sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under law but under grace. And then he goes, and then if you connect it with, says, or do you not know, brethren, for I speak to those who know the law, that the law has dominion, because the people are coming back. So he's saying, wait a second, like you guys were mentioned, so you're saying that because we're under grace, we're not supposed to keep law? And then now Paul begin this to answer this diatribe, how I'm going to answer what does this law have to do with? And he says that this law, he says that the law has dominion over man as long as he lives. So now he's making a correlation with this law, that it has power, it has jurisdiction over your life.
Right.
So this is how he's beginning. He's like, no, we don't do away with the law. This law has dominion. So and then he's gonna go into it a little bit more to explain.
So he's talking to Jewish people because they're the only ones that had the law.
Yeah, I mean,
He's talking about
in
the
7,
law
he's talking to
of Moses.
Right.
He's talking about 10 Commandments. He's talking about that.
See, I don't agree.
No,
with that.
I'm not. Listen, I believe that he is addressing those, like the Jewish believers in there, but I think it also applies to the Gentiles because when we read in the chapters earlier, he brought everybody under trial. You understand? He was like, you guys are not innocent because you guys don't have the law per se. You have creation, you have your conscience. He brought all those things towards them. So, I believe that he is speaking specifically, like right here. He's speaking to the Jewish people,
right.
but I think it can apply to Gentiles.
See,
also.
but I think though that
I forgot what scripture it was. Let me
I think that he's speaking this law as a general principle, that this is a principle that everyone know. And I think he's speaking specifically to the Romans, because the Romans, they established this Roman law that was throughout the nation, and they all understood law because they were all about setting rules and regulations and standards. They established streets and signs and all these things. So I think he's speaking, he's like, yo, you know this because you guys establish a law. You establish government. You establish, all these different regions and all these things. So I'm speaking to you because you know the law. So, I mean, we can say that he could be talking to Jewish people that know the law, but we know that he's addressed everyone from chapter 2. He dealt with people that did not know the law, and that the law is already written in their conscience. Right. So
But
go ahead.
This specifically, he's talking about the law of Moses. He's talking about the Jewish tradition, and he says, or do you not know, brethren? So we know he's talking to his kinsmen, right? For I speak to those who know the law.
Wait a second.
So that I read it as specifically the law, right? I'm talking about the law of Moses. I'm talking about the Jewish tradition, and that's who he's going to address specifically in this chapter.
Yeah.
Wait a second. But why would he address them specifically when he was already going to address them, his kinsmen according to the flesh, in chapters 9 through 11?
When we get to 9 and 11, we'll talk. About
so this is why I don't think he's speaking there, because I think the way he's seeing, because I have like the law here written in lowercase, and I think during the whole translation, as we see, as we progress, and you go to in verse 5, all of a sudden the law becomes capital L, and a lot of times when you use lowercase, that they're speaking in general as a principle, and not as the Mosaic law. So I'm thinking that he's not addressing his brother, because I mean he's addressing his brother in terms of like believers. I'm speaking to you, Christian believers, that the law I don't think is Jews.
Again, I believe that he's addressing the Jews, but the Gentiles is also could fall under this, and that's what Romans 2:14, he says, for when the Gentiles who have not the law do by nature the things contained in the law, they not having the law are a law unto themselves.
Okay, well, so when he say who have not the law, what is he talking about?
Right, he's talking about the Gentiles who don't have the law. That's why I said I agree with you here,
Right.
that he's
So that's why
specifically, because when he goes into the whole marriage thing, right, like I agree with you here, but I also think that, the
Because if
Gentiles,
it's a principle,
it could fall under there.
so
They
that's
could fall under there.
That's why
You
if it's
understand?
all right. So let's continue.
Yeah,
on.
let's
so
go
we
on.
got
Yeah, we'll see it.
Different.
Yeah,
We see it differently.
Yeah, we'll see it.
But quick thing, when you mentioned when the 2:14, that also, if you look at it, that L was a lowercase L. But then when you go into chapter 3, right, when he starts addressing the Jews, all of a sudden that L becomes a capital L, because now he's
I see. Oh, okay, from the law, although the law and the all right, I see what you're saying.
All right, so let's read
that's a different take.
from 2 to 4.
For the woman who has a husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as he lives. But if the husband dies, she is released from the law of her husband. So then, if while her husband lives, she marries another man, she will be called an adulteress. But if her husband dies, she is free from the law, so that she is no adulteress, though she has married another man. Therefore, my brethren, you also have become dead to the law through the body of Christ, that you may be married to another, to him who was raised from the dead, that we should bear fruit to God.
Okay. So now he uses this illustration of marriage, right? So talking to Christians, and you got Gentile Christians and you have Jewish Christians. So what's the relationship of Christians, specifically these Jewish Christians, to the law? And that's what he's addressing. So he uses an illustration of a relationship of a married couple, a wife and a husband, right? So if the wife is married to the man, if she goes out and sleeps with another man, she's an adulteress because she's under this covenant relationship, right? But if the husband dies, then she's free to marry another man and not receive backlash of people saying, yo, you broke this covenant, you're an adulteress. So that's the illustration he's using to showcase this relationship. He's not saying that the man is the law or the woman is the law. That's not the point. He's just saying there's a relationship between the man and the woman, and that relationship is change or is binding, or it cuts off when that person dies. So now how does he relate it to the believer now? Right?
Yeah, so the one thing that I guess could be a little bit confusing because he uses the marriage is when I'm reading this, I see him using that marriage, that covenant, just so he can describe the only way out of it, right? Which is death. So I think, to me, when I read this, the most important thing I see when he says that is the only way out of that covenant that you were, and it's important to know that we were all born, with this law having dominion over us, right? And
what do you mean?
Sin, right? Sin, the law. Until you become a believer and you die in Christ, we're born into that, right? Having that dominion over us.
Sin? You mean
well,
sin?
Even the law.
No, that's the Jewish people. And that's how I'm reading it. The law, listen, the covenant, Mount Sinai, Moses coming down with the law. That was a covenant between the Jewish people and God. Nobody else.
No,
that's what I mean.
I get that, but
so in this is what he's talking about. Just like you see, there's a covenant between a man and a woman. He's using that illustration. That's why I say he's talking to the Jewish people, because there was a covenant between them and God. A binding covenant.
You see, the thing is that when you're throwing the Jewish covenant, is that I think that's why I think he's speaking in general here, where he's saying that this is an understood fact, assuming that you understand that marriage is a binding covenant. Right. I don't think he's directing it towards the covenant with God and the Jewish people, I think he's speaking just in general that, listen, there's a covenant that all of you know, right, that marriage is a covenant and it is binding until death severs it. Because everyone understood that marriage.
Right. Both Jews and Gentiles.
Yeah, Jews and Gentiles understood that. Like, even when we see when that guy was about to smash Sarah's wife.
Abraham.
Abraham
wife,
was
right,
about
Sarah, right,
was about to smash. And he's like, yo, I almost committed adultery. The law wasn't there.
Right.
So it was understood because God has already written on their hearts that there's a covenant. Because ever since Adam and Eve, they understood that marriage is between a man and a woman, and when you enter in that covenant, that only death can separate that. I think he's using it as an illustration because that's something that everybody knew in the Roman culture.
But so now all the other cultures, they practice polygamy. So how does that fall into that?
It doesn't matter. They were going against it, but they understood that once you're married to a person, you can't there was polygamy, right? But
yeah.
it
That's
doesn't.
That's why I'm
it
like,
doesn't matter.
He's addressing the Jewish people, but also the Gentiles fall under it. And that's
Yeah.
why I brought up Romans 2:14, because they understood that. They understood
That's-
those laws.
They understood that polygamy was wrong.
Yeah, they understood that.
Like,
You understand what I'm saying?
how they knew that? Because it's written on their conscience, right or wrong.
Yeah, that's what we
That's
went
why it
through
was
in the
like
first
it's
couple
a law unto
chapters. Yeah,
themselves.
there's a
Right.
conscience.
It's a law unto themselves.
Yeah, they
'Cause
knew that. They knew
it's-
that. That's why it's
they-
like I understand that he's because again he knows that the Jewish people in that congregation understand exactly what
Okay,
he's
wait,
talking about. So he's addressing them.
so let's-
But the
okay.
Gentiles fall under it because they also knew.
So let's be specific. Is he talking to the Jewish people or is he talking to the Jews and the Gentiles?
Both.
I think
believe
think
Jews and
both.
Gentiles.
He's
I
writing
believe Jews
to the
and
Roman
Gentiles.
church, which consists of both.
See, I think because
So-
I'll just give you a little bit of my like the way I broke this down is that the first couple of verses, I think from like 1 to 7, he's dealing with like the legalists, people that's taking the law, all right, literally or whatever, or that they have to serve the law. Legalists, people that feel the law and they in bondage to the law. Then afterwards, he addresses the libertines. These were people that say we don't need the law. Right, the antinomianisms, right? People that will go get, and then the last part is the law-abiding citizen, the law-abiding Christian. I mean, so I think there's so now in Christians, like within the Christians, you have legalist Christians, and then you got these libertine Christians, and then you have the law-abiding Christians. So now he's addressing Christians now. Okay, now I'm gonna address these type of Christians that are legalists. Christians that think that we don't need to keep the law, and then at the end, Christians that are law-abiding Christians. So I think that's how the chapter is broken down.
Okay.
In that format. I mean, that's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't agree.
Okay.
I think that in chapter 6, overall, Paul is talking about what's the order of your life now. And he's comparing all the older orders to this new order. So this new higher order is the Spirit and is Jesus Christ.
Right.
Right? So in chapter 6, he was talking about the order of sin. And now in chapter 7, so a lot of people that applied to was Gentiles because they didn't have any order. So they just did whatever they felt like because they didn't have a specific order. So now in chapter 7, right?
But they were still under the law.
But
They still had the penalty of breaking God's law.
And that's what
And that's why, like, when you read 6 and 14, it says, "For sin will have no dominion over you, since you are not under law, but under grace." He was talking to all of them, because that's why when I went back to Romans 2:14, it was a law unto themselves, even though they didn't have the law.
We understand the law of conscience.
Right,
we understand that.
Right?
But this is more specific to the law of the Jewish people that was given to them, the special covenant that they had, where they understood the will of God. Right? So now he's saying, even that order, that's not how you should live your life. That's why specifically it says brethren, and he says to those that know the law. The reason that is so specific in saying that, because as Paul is talking about, I'm talking to a specific group of people. I'm not just talking to anybody that know the law because everybody has a law. He already dealt with that before.
No, I agree
So
with
that's
you
why
on
he's
that.
like, I'm dealing with a specific group of people that had this law, and that law is not even that is the order in which you should live your life anymore, because we have a higher order. So that's how I see it.
No, I totally agree with you. But because I know he is going to bring the law, specifically the Mosaic law, dealing with the Jewish people. He's going to bring, but I think that first he comes in with a skyline view, a broad view, so that everyone could understand what he's talking about, and then he's going to hone in to the Mosaic law and give you like the correlation in a Christian's relationship to the law. Like the first time he gave you the relationship to sin. We've been released from sin now because we've died to it through baptism.
Right.
And now sin has no power on it. So sin has been disabled. It's been weakened.
Right.
It's been laid inoperative. That sinful nature.
The sin was the slave master. It was the
Sin
tyrant
wa-
over your life.
Sin was a slave master.
Okay.
So now he brought us to the grave to bring us to show us that, yo, listen,
Right.
that is done with. Now I'm gonna bring you to the marriage because you are married to the law, but now the law has
But
no
who was
dominion
married?
over you.
That's what I'm saying. Who
No.
was married to the law?
Yeah, and that's right. That's what I'm saying though, is that he starts off general, and then he brings it in and hones it in.
You talking
on
about in,
specific?
You
Yeah.
talking about in chapter 6 was general.
No, I'm saying like the first couple of verses, he's just
In chapter
speaking
7
in
he's
general.
talking about.
Yeah, chapter 7, initially, he was speaking in general as a principle that everybody could understand. And then he says, the Jewish people, then he hones it down to the Jewish people with the Mosaic law.
So my question is, how would the non-Jewish people, how would they reconcile being married to the law? You talking about the law, the Roman law?
I'm talking about law having jurisdiction over your life. They understood that.
Okay, but what law had jurisdiction over their life?
All laws.
The law of God.
I mean,
It's a law.
When did they get the law of God?
when they became a believer, right? Right.
No,
You're
no,
talking
nah,
about the
nah,
Ten
nah,
Commandments.
we're not talking
You're
about the
the
Ten
Ten Commandments.
No.
What
We're not
law?
talking about when they became a believer.
Listen, but
I mean,
earlier on, we
yeah.
established that the Jewish people had a special place.
no, we understand that.
Right.
But
So that's what I'm trying to
but the
understand. When you
Gentiles
say
were still guilty of that law.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. They
this
were
is-
still.
but they didn't get. They
No,
didn't,
I understand what you're saying.
Right. So when we're talking about being married to the law, being married to what law? How would they have understood that? What do you mean married to what law?
No, when I'm saying marriage, because he's giving you the illustration of marriage, and that the only way the marriage gets broken
Right.
is somebody
That's
dies.
why
what
he's
I
giving
was
you
telling
that.
you,
That's
that it
why
could
he's
be
giving you that.
confusing.
Right.
that
So what
he's not trying to say. Yeah, go ahead.
the Gentiles?
Yeah.
What are they trying to break? What covenant? What relationship do they have with law that they're trying to break?
Because they're still under God's law, even though they didn't get
How-
it specifically.
okay, but
you understand? That's why I went to
okay.
Romans 2:14.
Okay, but this is the thing.
They're still under the
This
law.
this is the thing though. I think he's specifically dealing with believers, right?
Right. I
Because
agree.
as we go through the whole thing. Now, what happens is that you become a believer, and then as a believer, now you know that God's laws are real.
Right.
Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not this.
that's what I said.
So now you're gonna become a legalist. I'm going to try to keep this law in the flesh. So he's talking
I
to
mean,
believers.
they've been knew that.
But they already
they
knew that,
always
right.
knew that. This is like you're trying to. I understand what you're saying, but way before the law, man still was under that. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? It's like Cain and Abel.
hold on.
Wait,
Guys,
wait,
guys, hold on, hold on,
before
guys.
way before the Ten Commandments,
We have
they
to.
still understood
we have.
that.
Listen, we're going over what Paul is saying right here.
Right now, so-
the stuff that you guys saying is ahead, because Paul gets into that.
Right.
It's stuff that is ahead.
So what are you saying that these people? Who are these people?
He's talking to the Jews, his brethren.
So you're saying
According
he's
to
only,
the flesh,
he's only dealing with Jews
He's
right
talking
here.
to the Jews that received the law of God, and their culture, right? Their relationship to God was based through the law. And he's saying no more. Now your relationship is going to be based through Jesus Christ. There's a new order. That's what he's saying. Just like before, he said, hey guys, you was under sin. Now you're no longer under sin because you're dead to the sin. Now you're joined with Christ. You're living under grace. And then he goes on to the Jews. Hey, it's not this anymore, guys. Hey, it's not this anymore. He deals with different groups. He's been doing that since the beginning of the chapter.
I agree that he's specifically dealing with the Jewish people because he's trying to bring out a point here. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I agree with you that, but I also understand that the Gentiles that were there, dog, the reason he's giving the illustration is like I'm giving let's say I'm giving you a illustration that only me and you know. But he's listening on the sideline. He can understand also exactly why I'm giving you the illustration. It's not just I understand the illustration. I'm bringing it to you because me and you get it applies to you. But he will understand also. That's what I'm trying to say. The Gentiles that were there at the time, they understood what Paul was saying when he was talking about the law. Okay, you guys were married to the law, such and such, such and such. He brings that out to bring the illustration how now everybody's free because we under Christ. So he's dealing with the Jews to just bring out this illustration so that everybody can understand, bro. That's why he's doing it. That's why he's like, brethren, I'm talking to my brothers. He's like, y'all I'm talking to y'all because y'all was given the law. Okay, let me give this illustration to everybody. Boom, I'm gonna speak directly to Ralph because this thing applies to Ralph. But you will also get it.
I mean, okay.
And that's all that's happening, bro.
Right.
Can I?
It's
say
not.
something?
That's what I'm saying. That's all that's happening.
No, but I don't think anything you're saying is adding to anything. You're saying, all right, there's a big audience.
Right.
But in that big audience, he's talking about to a specific.
Yeah, nobody-
Just like before, he was
I
like,
agree with
no,
you.
but that's not what Ralph's saying. That's not what
So,
Ralph's saying.
can I
All
say
right.
something?
Well,
Just like
I
before,
believe- I
when
agree-
he's
I'm
like,
saying
yo,
that.
I'm talking about circumcision. Is he talking to the Gentiles? No, they don't have no dealings with circumcision.
Right.
He's very consistent in how he lays out his arguments.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Nah, I
but
agree
Ralph
with
is
that.
saying something different.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, you're saying something totally.
I'm saying that
That's not what.
he's not dealing with the Jews. He's
saying,
not
right.
addressing specifically the Jews here. He's
Yeah.
addressing
But he
Christians.
If I'm speaking to
They are Christians,
if I'm
but they're
speaking to-
Christian Jews.
Right. If I'm speaking to
They're
those
Jews.
who know the law.
Right.
Bruh, he says it from the very
they're
beginning.
Jewish Christians.
Why are they the only ones that know the law though?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When
Because
you-
the Jews.
And he's talking to a specific church that's
Yeah.
mixed.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
That's
And now
what I'm
he-
saying.
that's-
I don't
exactly.
When
Guys,
listen,
guys.
can I say something real
Go
quick?
ahead. Go ahead.
Listen, at the end of the day, to me,
I see what I'm with you.
listen, I understand what you're saying, and I don't see why it is that important yet. But all I was saying, because we all get the application from this. The
Right.
reason why I said what using the marriage could be confusing to some people is because of this. But when I read it, I see the only way out of the righteous requirement
You're right. That's
of
the main point.
the
That's
law
the main point. You're right.
is death.
Yeah, you're right. That's the main point.
So that's what
right.
I was saying in the
That's-
beginning.
yeah, that is
like
the
10
main point.
minutes
That
ago.
is the main point.
That is
yeah.
that is
You're
100% right.
I agree with you.
That's
but
100%
you
right.
said the righteous requirements of the law.
The law.
Who had
All of us.
to fulfill?
Wait, who had what? What was the question?
He's not addressing
Who had to? Who had to fulfill the requirements of the law?
But the Jews you're talking about.
That's
Well,
all.
that's
That's
what-
all
yeah.
Marcus is saying.
Yes.
Okay, but I listen.
That's
either
all we
way,
saying.
to me,
That's all we're saying,
it
dog.
doesn't matter to me who
You-
he's talking to because we
Let's
all
move
get
on,
the
let's move on,
application
let's
of
move
it.
on. Let's
I
move on,
get
let's
it.
move
No,
I get what you're
Let's
saying.
move on.
Who had to fulfill the requirements of the law? We could go back to Deuteronomy
move on.
in front of Mount Sinai,
Okay, but
So-
listen,
The covenant.
But listen,
So you're saying
the
he's only
church-
speaking to the Jews?
right here.
Yeah, right here.
But
He's
the
addressing the
church,
Jews.
the
I
church
agree.
that
I
he's
agree with
talking to
Marcus.
weren't the Jews trying to get the Gentiles to live like them. Were they not?
Thank you.
It's just an
So,
example.
no,
he's
but
bringing
what I'm
out, bro.
saying
No,
is he's talking to a church where
Thank
the
you.
Jews were trying to get the Gentiles to live by the law.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
So
brother.
he's telling both parties now,
No.
you don't have to be married.
Okay.
You are married, but this is the way out of it.
All right. The reason I'm telling you he's talking
Thank
to he's talking to the Jews because he says brethren. And let's say the
Oh.
Jews is trying to do that.
So
you know what he's
wait,
hold on, hold on,
Christians
hold
as
on.
brothers.
Hold on.
Are Christians his brothers?
Hold on. The reason I'll agree with you. Right? Let's say the Jews were trying to get the Gentiles to follow their law. He's like, yo, Jews, cut it out. Because you know this is not the order anymore. Stop doing that. You understand what I'm saying?
Word.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, let's.
I mean,
let's
I
move
get
on.
it,
Let's
but to
move
me,
on.
it's
Let's
like, all
move
right,
on.
it is what-
I'm
I
with
get
you,
it.
son. Let's
Yo,
go.
man.
We gotta
These
go,
guys-
B. We can't sit there. Let's
All right,
go.
let's go, let's
no,
go.
Let's
no,
go.
but that was
Let's
a
go.
great point he said.
Let's go.
Because he's speaking to a church which is mixed with Jews and Gentiles.
It's all right.
And the Jews were trying to get the
The
Gentiles
room
to
is
keep law.
split.
'Cause
We
the
can
whole thing-
move. We
Because the
can
whole
move.
thing is that
I'm with you.
Christians
Let's
get
go.
saved, and then all of a
Let's
sudden
go.
they
But
think,
you-
oh,
nah, you know
now
why?
I gotta live
because
by-
you have to apply. I can't apply that when he's talking about circumcision.
Right. I agree
Can't.
with you.
When he's talking about circumcision, he's only talking about a certain group,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Just
So then why can't?
No, okay.
to bring out a
You
point to everyone.
no, but okay, hold on. But the whole thing is that the overarching point here, right? Because we know that the first couple of
I'm gonna let it go because
Hold
Ralph
on.
don't usually fight, so we
Let
gotta
Ralph
yeah,
fight.
we
Ralph
gotta let
needs to
Ralph
fight.
fight. Yeah,
No,
I
no.
don't,
No,
I
go
don't
ahead,
usually
go ahead.
see Ralph fight. Yeah, we gotta let Ralph fight.
The first couple of chapters, we know specifically, right, from 1 through 5, is dealing with the doctrine of condemnation, you know, the doctrine of justification, right? And then from 6 through 8, now we're dealing with the doctrine of sanctification. So right now, we're dealing with the doctrine of sanctification. So that means these people are saved already. They've been justified. He's dealing with Christians. Now, these Christians, now you get saved. Now he's like, now how do you get sanctified? Are we getting sanctified by what? Trying to follow the law. Because that's why I'm saying that he's dealing with Christians that think that now I could be sanctified. No, now I'm
Don't
saved.
give
I'm
up the
just,
whole chapter.
All
Let's
right.
go through
All
it,
right,
B.
cool,
You
cool.
giving up the
All
whole
right.
thing,
All
man.
right,
Let's
go.
go
All right,
through
all right.
it. Like, come
Where
on,
we finished at 4?
4, yeah.
4 said, therefore, my brethren, you also have become dead to the law through the body of Christ, that you may be married to another,
Right.
to him who was raised from the dead, that we should bear fruit to God. So, this new order, right? Being dead to the law and being joined to Christ, being married to Christ, being married to another, there's no condemnation, right? Nobody could call you an adulteress. Right. So we're seeing, you could continue to unpack that illustration he gave. And being married to Christ enables you to what? Bear fruit.
To God.
And that echoes back to John chapter 15.
Yep.
Right?
Beautiful.
Root, branches. If you're in me, you're going to bear fruit. So now we're seeing a result of being joined with Christ, of being married with Christ, is bearing fruit.
Hold on. But so now, yeah, that's the one quick thing I wanted to add, though, is that why it's so important. Like one of the things how that I looked at it, and why he uses this illustration that with the marriage and that death breaks this covenant, right? Because it's that, okay, once a party dies, now that woman is free to remarry, right? So it's the same way that, for example, people, if you're unsaved, you're married to you're still in bondage and you're still in a covenant with sin and death. So you have to, somebody got to die, right? Sin and death remains. So now you have to die in order for that covenant to break so that you can remarry. Same way as if, an unsaved person, the way I looked at it is that an unsaved person is currently married to Satan. He's in league with Satan. So now the only way he can be joined to Christ now and be remarried, now somebody got to die. So he has to die so that the covenant with him and Satan could be broken. So now he could remarry Jesus Christ.
Great illustration.
Yeah. That's what we went over in chapter 5, right?
Yeah.
Where you had the Adam and then you had the second Adam.
Right.
Yeah.
So understanding that if you're part of that race, there's two races.
Yeah.
We mentioned that a couple of episodes ago, right? And we know the destination of the first Adam because you're dead in your sin. Mm-hmm. You're joined to another because Adam forfeited his headship to Satan. So if you're part of the first Adam, technically you're still part of that family, right? Basically piggybacking off what Ralph said.
Yep.
So we get that illustration with marriage. We also seen that the only way you could bear fruit is if you are in Christ, right? If you're married, that you may be married to another, and that other is the one that was raised from the dead,
right?
Which we all know is Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Verse 5.
So verse 5, it says, "For when we were in the flesh, the sinful passions which were aroused by the law were at work in our members to bear fruit to death." I want to stop right there. So we're seeing another bearing fruit. What do you guys think of that? First, let me ask you, what does in the flesh mean? What do you think?
Well, now it means not spiritual, right? Because now when the Holy Spirit lives inside of us, now we live spiritually. We walk in the Spirit compared to walking in the flesh, which is where sin lives, right? Sin lives in our flesh.
So flesh meaning natural state, unsaved.
Right, yeah.
The old man.
It's not the skin. We're not talking about
Right.
you
It's
and
not
your skin.
Right.
Your old character, the old person you was.
The old person, which is like, a person want to get drunk, want to get high, want to smash women all the time, not get married, want to, that's the flesh. And or your entire mindset is on like things of this world, earthly things.
Right. Fame, money, status, being a boss. Like if that's what your whole mind frame is about, if that's what drives you, if that's what everything, that's what your makeup is, and that's like he's saying, he's like, when you lived like that, you was aroused by the law, we're at work in our members to bear fruit to death. That only bore fruits of death. Where when we're in Christ, we bear fruit to God.
So the law was arousing these sinful passions, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were for when we were in the flesh, or when we were unsaved, the sinful passions in us, desires, right, were aroused by the law, which were aroused by the law, were at work in our members to bear fruit to death. So now we see there's two type of bearing, there's two type of birthing, right? You have one where you're being married to Christ and you're producing fruit. you're producing life. And then you have this other example where you're producing death. Right? So when you talk about all the travailing and the suffering, and then when you deliver, it's stillborn. The baby's dead.
Right. And it's the scriptures tell you, the fruits of the spirit, joy, peace, love, patience, discipline, self-restraint, all those things, that's bearing fruit to God. And then when you're thinking about, death, when people that are always dealing with anxiety and always depression and, the total opposites of the fruits of the spirit, hate, you hate jealousy, envy, coveting, all these things. Like when you were living, in your flesh and you was, our sinful passions and you was aroused by the Lord, it says, that's what was being worked, those fruits of death. When you get around people that's just always angry, have tempers, dealing with that all the time. That's their makeup, so that's the fruit that you was bearing. Everything that's opposite of the fruit of the spirit.
And the whole thing is, Paul really, I think he really dives into these statements that he's saying.
Yeah.
Right. So we're seeing that. So let's, Andrew, read 6.
But now we have been delivered from the law, having died to what we were held by, so that we should serve in the newness of the Spirit and not in the oldness of the letter.
Let's talk about that. What do you think he's saying when he said we were delivered from the law? And he's talking about the oldness of the letter. What is he talking about?
I'm with you, doggy.
What?
I mean, it's clear. I'm with you.
No. Oh, you.
Yeah, what is he talking about? What is he talking about?
What are we He's saying that they've been delivered from the law.
Right.
So again, now what law is he talking about?
Now, right now, I'm speaking specifically about the Mosaic law.
So he's talking about the Mosaic law.
Yeah. Because I have it capitalized.
So you're saying this law is different from the previous law?
Yeah, I think the first one was speaking in general, just as a principle that everybody knows.
But who he was speaking to?
Everyone.
Okay.
So
all
now,
the Christians,
okay. So now when
all
he
the believers.
says, so now when he says, but now we, who's the we? And 6, he says, but now we,
Us Christians.
so the Christians, Jews and Gentiles.
Yep.
So the Jews and Gentiles have been delivered from the law
Released from the law.
because they were under. So the Gentile Christians were under the law.
Yes, I agree with that. I believe he's addressing the Jews, but this applies to the Gentiles.
But this applies to the
that's what
The
I'm
oldness
saying.
of the
It
letter.
applies.
So what's the oldest? What letter is he talking about?
He's talking about the 10 Commandments, the laws of Moses.
So that
Right, the Mosaic law.
so that was also
on the top of that was on the top of the heads of the Gentiles too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. And
They were still. That's why I read Romans 2:14.
Yep.
They
That's
knew,
what I'm
they
saying.
understood.
Like everybody,
There was
when
those
I
are the
said
things
you're
they
born
understood.
so the whole.
No, not the whole.
No,
not the-
listen, the 10 Commandments came from Moses down the mountain.
Yeah.
To who?
So wait a second.
to the world.
So wait a second. Wait. Hold on. So what do you no? You're saying that these folks were not bound to the laws of God.
Who? What folks?
the Gentiles.
The Gentiles. The Gentiles, were they bound to the law or not?
That's what it sounds like you're saying.
You talking about the Moses? Hold
I'm
on.
saying the Gentiles. Did they have to keep?
The
law? No, I'm saying not keep, but was the law a witness against them? Yes or no?
Of course it was.
All right then.
But what? No.
What I'm saying.
Listen,
So
but
this
what do we?
applies to them too.
No, what are we talking about? Listen, we already read in the beginning of the chapter that everybody is condemned.
Yes.
we understand that.
Exactly.
But listen, but what was the plan of God? I'm going to take a group of people. I'm going to have a deal with them. And you guys are supposed to be the priests. You guys are supposed to represent everybody else in the world. So when he came down with the laws, who did he come to? He came to the Jewish people. Why are we throwing in the Gentiles in this? We already dealt with this. And why so now we're saying the old letter and we're saying the commandments, that meant the Gentiles? No, it was only for the Jews. They're the only ones that had that special privilege.
They were
We
God's
went
people,
through this.
right? Yeah, they were God's chosen people. But what I see here is he's talking to Christians who are now God's people. I get what you're saying, and
You're right.
but I feel like here this applies to all of us, bro.
So wait a second. So you're not.
You're talking about Jewish Christians. Jewish Christians and Gentile
Guys, you
Christians.
guys have to make the differentiation.
I'm talking about both.
Because when the way he
Jews and
speaks,
Gentile believers.
the way he's speaking, he makes points to say who he was talking to. So if you say he's talking to everybody here, when he was talking about circumcision, you have to keep it consistent and say he was talking to the Gentiles also.
Nah,
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I don't think so.
No.
Circumcision was just the outward expression to be known as his people,
Yeah,
right?
but it was a law for
that
the
was just
Jews.
for the Jews to be known as a Jew. You had to be circumcised. Here we're talking about being set free from something that righteous requirement that can send you to hell.
Okay.
We're talking about what they thought was salvation. That's how I see it.
Okay.
And maybe I'm wrong, but like I said,
who thought that it was salvation? The Jewish people.
yes, they did.
Right.
Yeah.
So make me understand how the Gentiles fall into that. The Gentiles didn't have a list of stuff that they had to live their life by in order to try to think that they could obtain righteousness. They didn't have that. The Jews had that.
Okay,
so the
so-
Jews is thinking like, yo, we could get righteousness if we follow this. Paul is like, no, that order is done.
Okay, so
And then again, I don't want to skip ahead, but he breaks down, you guys have to understand the whole point of the law.
right, we all. So now this is the thing, though. I'm asking you. So now he's speaking about the law. These people have become justified, right? They've been saved. Who's been saved? Because we already skipped 5 and 6. Who's been saved? Is it just Jews or is it Jews and Gentiles?
Jews and Gentiles.
So now after they've been saved, now what are they doing? Because remember, he's dealing with the church, where the church is being gathered, right?
Yeah.
Having fellowship. What are they doing?
I don't understand your question.
No, I'm saying if they're gathering for church, are they reading the word, or the Jews are reading the law, and then the Gentiles are just chilling?
No.
Are they so they're reading the scrolls? They're reading the Bible? They're reading the Old Testament because they're having church. That's why he wrote this letter to them. They're having church, and I heard your faith. So how did these Gentiles get faith? From what?
Jesus Christ, trusting in Jesus Christ.
Yes. So are they reading anything, or we trust in Jesus Christ and we're not reading anything? We're just gonna sit here and we believe in Jesus Christ, but we're not reading. We're not reading
the scripture.
We're not reading Genesis. We're not reading the Tanakh. We're not reading the Torah.
They were reading the law.
They were reading the law.
Okay.
So this is what I'm saying is that now he's saying that now that you've been saved, Jews and Gentile,
Right.
and you've been studying the Torah and the Tanakh. Now you think that you think your sanctification process is gonna happen through keeping the law.
That's Galatians.
I know that's Galatians. I know that's Galatians, but still, the thing is that what do you think they're doing?
Okay, so you're telling
So
me.
you're telling me that
wait.
I'm not talking to the Gentiles. I'm only talking to the Jews. Now.
No,
Nah, he's talking to both.
dog.
right,
He's
then.
talking.
Marcus is saying he's only talking
No,
to the Jews.
Listen.
He's talking to the
Jews,
church,
but it
he's
applies to the
addressing
Gentiles.
different groups in the church. We went over this. He did it already. He addressed certain
My thing
groups.
is, you
No,
saying the
yeah.
Gentiles are not under this. That's what you're saying.
Dog,
That's what
the
he's saying.
Gentiles
He's
were
saying the
not
Gentiles-
under the law. The Gentiles were not under the law that was given to the Jews. They
So
were not.
who is he talking to in
He's talking to-
6:14 where he says, "For sin will have no dominion over you, since you are not under the law but under grace"? Who was he addressing there?
He's talking to the Gentiles and the Jews.
So what law was he talking about there?
Yeah,
The
so
lo-
why
the-
is that not the same law?
What law was he talking about there in 14?
Bro, he's talking.
I'm asking.
Hold on. In chapter 6, he's talking about sin,
Right.
right? And being led by sin,
Right.
right? And he was like, yo, cut that out. Sin don't have power over you. Join the Christ.
But how did they
We
know
understand-
what was sin? It was through the law, bro.
Remember, the law is good.
Remember that, and that's why when
law
we
is
start to go,
perfect.
just listen. When we start to go further, that's when he starts to break down the whole purpose of the law. But everybody was under it.
That's
But
Even
yo,
though
but
that,
hold on,
listen,
no,
just-
hold on,
even though that
hold
the
on.
Jews didn't get it. Stop. Just listen real quick.
No.
Even though that the
What?
Gentiles didn't get it,
But my guy,
and it was given to the Jews,
didn't
that don't
we-
mean the Gentiles were free from not being
Exactly.
under the
That's
law and the
not-
punishment
that's what
of the
I'm trying to
law.
say.
That's not what I'm
bro.
talking about. But what were we talking about in the early chapters? Didn't we divide them into groups?
Yes, we did.
And then we say, like, your dog, you have a law into yourself, your conscience.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Okay,
what we're talking
so
about.
that's what, isn't that what he could be talking about? It's. I know he's not talking about the commandments. I know he's talking about Moses. I know he's not talking about all those things, circumcision. That don't apply to them, dog. It does not. But earlier he was talking about, yo, you have a law. It's inside of you. You know your conscience tell you what to do that's right or wrong.
So, but my thing is, you can't separate it now in 7 and 1 where he says, "Who know the Lord?" Is he talking about just circumcision, high holy days?
Yes.
That's what he's talking about.
He's talking about his brethrens, those who know the law.
I agree with you that he's addressing the Jews. I
Yes,
agree with
he's
you on
addressing
that.
the Jews.
But the Gentiles that were there, they were still under it, bro.
They're still under what?
The law. They were still under the law, bro.
Like what?
Thou shalt not
Circumcision?
kill. Thou shalt not steal. We're not talking about circumcision.
listen.
We're talking about.
Yeah, right.
I understand
No,
what you're talking
but
about.
we
That's the law he's talking about. He's talking about thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery. He's
Thou
talking
shalt
about
not covet.
gold, thou shalt not covet, because that's why when he goes in further, he starts to bring himself out where he's like, yo, dog, it's not until I knew the law that I knew covetousness. Boom, 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 boom. He starts to bring himself out as an example. That's what he's talking
That's what I
about
think,
here,
so
bro.
that's what I
He's not
think.
talking about circumcision and high holy days and all of that,
Right.
bro.
He's talking about
He's
talking about the
addressing the
moral law.
Jews
He's
because
talking about all of it. He's talking about all of the law, the
Okay.
culture of the Jews.
So my thing is, you can't. How do you differentiate from 6 and 14, and then you go to So you're talking about committing. You're talking about stealing, killing. All of that is not applied here in 7 and 1. It's applied there too.
Of course it is.
So that's what I'm saying. So how could the Gentiles who's there it not be applied to them?
you guys.
That's
you
why I
guys-
said
don't
I
think you guys
agree with
understand.
you.
I think verse
Listen,
5
I
guys-
agree with you
you
that
guys-
he's addressing the Jews. But the thing about it is, like I said before, it's like I give you a situation that me and you was there. Ralph hear about it. Ralph is like he can understand and apply it to himself.
I'm not disputing the fact that other people heard. If they hear it, great.
And they're under it.
But how are the Jews under? How are the Gentiles under the Jews' culture?
6 and 14.
I think verse 5.
So
here
so
sort of
so
hints
okay.
it.
Since you are
So
not
the
under
laws.
the law,
So
he
the
was-
laws.
He
where
was
it
talking
says
to the
that
Gentiles here.
some
Okay,
was
so when he was
aroused
talking
by
about the
the law.
laws, you have a law
It's
unto
not talking
yourself.
about
Is the
all
same
of
thing?
the laws. The,
Yeah.
The Jews' law.
No, not listen. Not. Again,
So that's okay. So that's what I'm
Yes,
talking about.
yes, it is
I'm,
the Ju-
I'm
yes.
talking. Okay,
The
I'm gonna stop
same laws
using
that
law.
was
I'm
given-
talking. I'm gonna say culture. The culture that was given to them, right? You guys are special because you guys got the oracles. We read that. That separated them from everybody else in the world. We read that.
You can't use culture.
you can't. Use
All right, let's go on.
culture.
Let's finish up.
Yeah,
Come on,
let's
how you
get-
gonna
let's
use
go.
culture?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
gotta
yeah.
finish
Let's get- I'm with you. Let's go. Let's go.
That's their culture. They were given their
can't use
culture.
culture.
That's what I'm saying. You start to differentiate and you start to.
Let me ask you a
do
question.
that.
Does it
The
say
hi-
culture or does it say law?
The high holy days. Did they have to follow the high holy days? That was a law, right?
Yes.
Okay, circumcision. That was a law, right?
Yes.
Tithing. That was a law, right?
Yeah.
Did anybody else have to follow those?
But you see, no, nobody else had to follow those. But the thing is that, but you see, you can't even throw that in there though. You know
Why?
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 No, he can't throw that.
Why?
in there. But my
No,
thing
no,
is, it's
no, you
just
know
not
what?
specific to that.
No, the
so
only
those
reason-
laws. Listen, I understand what you're saying. The Jews, because I agree with you. He's breaking down how the Jews, you're free from all of that. Not just the 10
The
Commandments.
dietary laws.
The diet, right?
Who is that for?
Yes.
Okay.
you're
The
free-
Gentiles?
No.
He's
not
saying,
the-
yo, y'all free from
No,
all of that.
I agree.
Yeah, but you know
but
the
the
law-
things that apply to the Gentiles, there, dog, they were still under certain parts of
Yes.
the law too.
I get that.
and that's why everybody's
No,
included here.
but I understand that.
So then-
But I'm
So
saying
you-
he's specifically talking about that whole thing, that whole
I agree.
law.
I agree.
So then, but I don't understand why you keep saying something else. And
No,
you're saying,
I'm saying that the Gentiles. Okay,
That's fine. That's fine. It doesn't matter.
So, let me-
They could be there. They could listen in.
no, it's not about listening in. They were still under that law. I'm gonna show you something. Let me ask you a question, right? If I sit there and I'm talking about the whole law, including dietary and all of that, and I'm talking to the
Civil?
Jews, what do you mean?
There's civil law. They had those rules on how you take care of your animal.
Yeah,
what I'm-
yeah.
that's
So
what
the
I'm telling
Gentiles
this
was
guy.
under it too?
No, they're not.
No, they're not. But
Okay,
my thing is, okay.
that's what I'm saying.
So let's say
And there was a
and that's what
moral
I'm
law.
saying. I'm addressing the Jews with that, right? But understand that this is a mixed church. But there were Gentiles there that was under the law of the 10 Commandments also.
Mike,
and he's like, you guys are
Mike.
free from that too.
Okay, but he already addressed them. That's what I'm saying. He already addressed the Gentiles.
No, he's addressing them here also, because that's why he brings the whole marriage thing to show you that, dog, whatever law that applied to you, you're free from it.
Right.
You're under Christ now. You're in Christ now.
Dude, I think
whether
verse 5
whether you're
agrees with us.
Yeah, whether
Read it
listen,
again.
whether you're a Jew, whether you're a Jew following all the dietary laws, or whether you're a Gentile who's under the law of killing, stealing, you're free from that, bro. That's what I'm saying. You're sitting here separating that. You can't do it.
I feel-
because
Say that again.
whether you're a Jew who's under the 10 Commandments and the dietary laws and all of that, or a Gentile who's just under the laws of thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not lie, dog. You're free from that. You're in Christ now. That's why he brings the whole thing of the marriage.
So they're free from thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not.
No, we're talking
free
about
from
as
the-
far as when you go further in, as far as trying to fulfill it to be righteous.
Yeah.
That's why that's when he start to go in like, dog, you can't think that, okay, now I'm a Christian and I'm gonna follow whatever law that applied to me, I'm gonna follow it, and now I'm righteous. It goes into it, but I'm talking about as
I
far as
agree.
the people you're
I agree with
addressing.
you.
and
So
that's it.
I think verse 5 when it says for when we were in the flesh, right? Yeah. So the flesh is unsaved,
Yep.
right? Now they're not in the flesh. Now they're all saved. So to me, he's just talking to saved people post believing in Jesus Christ. Is that not what that says there? It says for when we were in the flesh. He's saying all of us before we were saved, right? And then it says the sinful passions which were aroused by the law.
Yeah. The law.
It's all right. It's all right, man.
I think he's talking to all.
He's gonna. It's just
saved
where we gonna
people.
see it. All right. What's next?
right.
Verse 7. Verse
Where we at?
7.
Okay, been delivered from the law, and you guys are saying
Right.
it's
So that we
everybody
serve
and all
in
the
the
law.
new way of the Spirit and not in the old way of the written code, which is the law.
So-
the capital L.
My thing is, listen, the law was the former state. It was addressing the man in the flesh, right? The law was saying, hey, guy, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that, you'll achieve righteousness, right? That's what the law was saying. So when he's talking about that, he's addressing the people that were under the law and that were trying to achieve righteousness based on the law. If we want to understand what Paul's been talking about, he said, like, your dog, you can't achieve righteousness no other way except through Jesus Christ. That's why he's not talking about the Gentiles. The Gentiles weren't trying to achieve righteousness through no law because they didn't have any of that. They didn't understand that. Only the Jews understand that.
So
Right? So now he's like, yo, there's it's not even applicable to you now because now you guys are in the spirit. That was old. You can't apply it now. You can't apply trying to achieve righteousness by keeping the law, keeping the Sabbath, keeping the circumcision, keeping all those. You can't do that. That's what I'm saying.
okay, and how are the Gentiles trying to achieve their
They,
the righteousness?
they didn't get anything. How?
No, I'm saying after the Gentiles have been saved.
Listen, I'm not talking about.
Oh, okay.
I'm not talking about they got saved through Jesus Christ. So if they got saved, obviously they understand that the only way you could get saved is through Jesus Christ. Paul laid it out already. He laid out your position. He laid out that there was another way outside of the law, right?
Okay.
Beside the law, apart from the law.
Right. Apart from the
Apart from the law. Because you had a group of people that understood specifically the only way for me to get righteous, to be in the right standing with God, is to follow this law. And Paul is like, nah, you can't do it. Right? That was the old. Now that you're new, now that you're a new creation, that doesn't apply. That's what he's saying. That's why I'm saying I specifically say he's talking to the Jews. I get it that the Gentiles, if they're listening, they're understanding. Yeah, of course. But his whole thing, when the theme is also talking about righteousness and being in the right standing, how did the Gentiles understand that? How did they understand what Paul is saying? Thinking that they could get righteous how? By following what? They were sheeps without a shepherd. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why he's destroying all these things. He's destroying, the law, nah, that's not it. He was like, stop living under sin. You don't need to do that anymore because now you got the power to overcome that and to live differently. Don't cooperate with that anymore. Because he already established your position. You're standing. This is where you are. Start behaving in your true identity in Christ now. That's the reason I say that. I understand what you guys are saying, that the Gentiles is there. Yeah, they could. It was a letter. Read the letter. But you know what? When he get to that part, the Jews is like, I understand what you're saying. Because he's aiming it specifically for them to address specific things that some of them might have still been holding on to. And then we see it creep in Galatians. We see Peter mess up and still get caught up in that. You understand what I'm saying? That's the way I see it.
So were you just reading 6? Because did we speak about spirit and not in oldness of the letter?
Now what's that?
Yeah,
in
that's
verse 6. And he says the newness of the spirit. What do you guys think about that?
We should serve in the newness of the spirit and not in the oldest of the letter. Prior to being saved, you don't have a spirit.
Okay.
You don't have a spirit that's in you. You don't have that grace that's enabling you to please God. You gotta understand the problem with the old order of the law, right? And I don't want to skip ahead.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna say it because we'll get into it. Yep. But the newness of the spirit. Now that you're new and you have the spirit in you, that's the higher order. The letter was the old order. Mm-hmm. So when I read stuff like letter, that's talking about the law.
Right.
So he's like, yo, dog, that's not the way anymore. It's not applicable. The law is not applicable to a born again Christian that is living in Christ, that's died to sin, right? Like, let's say if you're a Gentile, died to sin. If you're a Jew, dog, that relationship with the law that you have is dead. Now you can marry somebody else. Because that deal is, you can't be married to somebody dead.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So now that you're new and you have that spirit in you, dog, you could live in that. Forget the old letter of the law. That's why he's saying. I mean, my throat hurt, man.
So I just want you to I want you to break down Romans 2, but go ahead.
What's Romans 2?
Romans 2, where he breaks it all down. He says where it says, for it is not the hearers of the law who are righteous before God, but the doers of the law who are justified. For when Gentiles who do not have the law by nature do what the law requires, they are a law to themselves, even though they do not have the law.
They don't have the law.
They show that the work of the law is written on their hearts, while their conscience also bears witness, and their conflicting thoughts accuse or even excuse them on that day when, according to my gospel. That's why I'm like, dog, there was Gentiles sitting there that knew better. Because that's why he exposed them in Romans 2. He's like, y'all not free? That's why I'm like, he's dealing with the Jews. I get it. He's dealing with the Jews to bring out this illustration, just real quick. He's bringing out the Jews to dealing with the illustration, but there's Gentiles there that know that it was written in their hearts, their conscience. They knew that they were breaking the laws of God. And that's why I'm like, yo, dog, all of you guys are grouped into this.
What is he saying in Romans 2? In Romans 2, he's saying all of y'all is guilty.
How? According to what?
The law of God.
Yeah. What law of God?
The law that's in your conscience.
And what is that law?
Yo, you shouldn't steal.
That was the same law that was written on the tablets.
Yeah. Okay, and they had 600 and something else laws.
Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. I understand that, yes, I understand that, yes, he's freeing, he's showing that the Jew, that's why I agree with you. He's showing the Jews, you guys are freed from all of that.
Okay.
And also, Gentiles, dog, now you guys are in Christ. That's why later he goes on to tell you there was no way, whatever moral standards you had in your mind, because remember in the beginning he was dealing even with the moralists. The person who was the moralist who had his own law about him.
But you read it. It says you didn't get the law. He says you didn't get the law, but you know what? You're still guilty. That's what Paul is saying.
Well, you didn't get the written.
You didn't get the written law, but you are still guilty. You got the law.
Guilty of
you're
what?
guilty. Everybody, but we established what Paul was saying in the first
chapter. He's freeing everybody. And in 7, he's freeing everybody.
Right. And he already dealt with the Gentiles. Yo, you guys are free. You guys are free from sin. because that's what you guys were into. You guys did whatever you wanted. You guys had your own culture, sacrificing baby. This is what you guys was doing. And then he goes and address another group and be like, yo, you guys, you think this is how you're going to get righteousness? He's like, no, you're free from that too. There's a new order. That's what I'm saying.
No, you see, the things that I agree. I don't think it's a either or. I think it's a both and. I think he's speaking to, yes, so. We are addressing the Jews here with the law, right? Saying that you are free from the Mosaic law. And I also think he's telling the Gentiles that you are free from that conscious law that was written on your heart.
Dog,
because the things that
because
you are
here.
because the things that first in 6 you were bound to sin and death. You've been freed from that. Now you guys are being legalists because now you thinking that you could be sanctified and get holier, right? Because that's the whole process of sanctification, right? The Holy Spirit come and dwells us to make us look more like Christ. So what happens that the Jews thinking that, okay, oh wow, I got this new birth. Now I'm gonna keep the law well because of this Holy Spirit dwelling in me,
and that's why now that's why Galatians comes next.
Yes,
that's why now when with Galatians, because you had Jews that were going to the Galatians and saying, "Yo, dog, you gotta follow the thing," and he's like, "Yo, bruh, we started this in the spirit. Why would you think you're gonna finish it in the flesh?" He's like, "Yo, dog, I dealt with that in Romans." Dog, everybody's free from that.
I don't see that.
You see, that's what the Jews were trying to do to the Gentiles. They were trying to bring them under the law.
No. In Galatians, you had a group of people that were coming in to do that. And that was leading the Gentiles astray. You had a group of people that hated the liberty of the Gentiles or the Christians.
I agree.
So let's not convolute both of what these are saying. I don't think it's saying the same thing.
But the thing is, like, are we not talking about sanctification though? In this chapter, where are we at?
I think where Paul is establishing how you're gonna live, the order of this new life,
which is what?
It's sanctification.
Okay, then.
But hold on, he goes into it deeper.
That's what I'm saying.
No, I agree with you. I agree, but he's establishing this new order.
Right.
And he gets into specifics. So now he's already telling them, like, that's gone. You're free from that.
Yes.
That's gone. You're free from that. And then he continues to go on.
And this is why he used that whole illustration to say now that you are no longer in bondage. You are no longer under the jurisdiction of this law. You Jew under the jurisdiction of the Mosaic law, and you Gentile under the jurisdiction of the conscience telling you that I'm not supposed to kill, I'm not supposed to, lie and murder or whatever.
So let me ask you a question.
So now he's saying that.
Is that, so those things I'm not supposed to kill, those are still good. We're still supposed to follow that.
Yeah, because it's the law.
100%.
Okay.
But
so here, let me this is my last point.
It's not just those laws.
All right. So this is my last point. The reason that I see the marriage illustration works with the Jews, because just like in marriage, you have a covenant between two groups. When you're looking at the Jewish people, it's a covenant between two groups.
Yes.
So that's why it makes sense. So when you're saying there was a for the Gentiles, you're free from the law, you're bound by the law, it doesn't make sense to me. You understand what I'm saying? Because the Jews had a ceremony and they had a covenant that they had to follow. And I see how that relates to him breaking down how you're bound. Something that's even a ceremonial, something that's a covenant, a marriage between a man and a woman. Okay, when one of them die, you're free. So now he's breaking it down to you. Understand the Jewish people and this connection, this relationship that you guys had with God. And it was through the law. And he was like, okay, now that's dead because you died. So now you can marry another.
Yes.
So now
I agree with you.
I can't reconcile when you're saying to the Gentiles, this married to the law, and you're like how you broke it down.
They're
bound by the law and your conscience.
Because the things that they're trying to live a sanctified life through the law, through the Mosaic law. That's the thing.
It was the Gentiles were doing that.
Gentiles, they get saved, and now they think that the law is going to make me righteous.
That's why when you get into Galatians, he start dealing with the Galatians, and he's like, "Yo, dog, who bewitched you?" When he's like, "Yo, dog, I laid all of this out already."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's
makes
why
perfect
it was
sense.
so. That's why I'm trying to show you, like, yo, bro, everybody was under the law. You understand? Everybody was under that punishment of the law, and he's trying to show. Like I said, I agree with you that he's giving the illustration to the Jews.
Yeah.
He's giving an illustration, but both understand clearly what he's saying.
Yes.
But I mean, okay.
Because and that's it, and that's all it was. It
But
wasn't
no,
even.
no. But
go deeper.
you made a non-point. You're saying both understand. I'm like,
Yeah, it don't go deeper than that.
but that's
Maybe it's
but
right
that's-
here.
No, but that's not a point.
Okay, cool.
What do you mean? Okay, what do you mean both understand?
Both understood exactly what he was talking about when he was dealing with the marriage according to the Jews. The Gentiles that was there, they totally got it.
Okay, so
Right.
last
And they
question.
totally-
Last question.
They
and
totally
we
see
gotta.
how it applied to them.
How
That's why he
how-
used marriage. 'Cause
Okay,
That's
but-
why he used marriage.
So
exactly.
Everybody knows
So,
marriage.
okay, so you
not
guys-
just the Jews. So you say only the Jews had marriage?
This wasn't talking about.
The Jews have marriage only.
And you the one who brought out you the one who brought out the whole Abraham.
listen,
listen, and you the one who brought out during the time of Abraham how those Gentiles, it was a law unto themselves where these guys were more. They had certain morals. You the one who brought that out during Genesis.
Of course, they had morals.
And that's what he's trying to show them. He's like, yo, dog, that's not gonna make you righteous.
You guys don't get it. You guys really don't get. I don't think you guys understand what I'm saying.
Okay, bro.
It's all right, but Angela.
No. But listen, listen to what you guys are saying. Hold on. Listen to what you guys are saying.
He hit us with the
You guys
Angela
are saying
thing.
you guys are saying the marriage illustration applies to the Gentiles because the Gentiles were bound to their conscience and to follow that law.
They understood
They
that.
understood.
Right. They understood it when he gave the illustration.
What did they understand?
They understood
marriage.
the whole marriage. Yeah, they understood
But
the
this
whole
is not
marriage
about-
situation.
That is a covenant.
Okay.
And you brought it
And
out.
bound
in
by
Abraham.
covenant.
Wait.
You brought it out. You brought
Hold
it out in
on.
Abraham.
This is not talking about marriage.
Yeah, we
this
know.
is using marriage as an illustration to show
That's
what?
what we said.
That's what I just said.
To show a relationship.
Covenant.
Okay. Covenant.
Bound by the law.
Okay. So now, how does that apply?
and the punishment and the penalty
Okay.
of
How
the-
does that apply to the Gentiles? What covenant did the Gentile have to the law?
Dog, they was under it, even
Yeah.
though they didn't
No,
get it.
wait, stop. What covenant? And when we're talking about covenant, there's a process for covenant because every time there's a covenant with God, there is something to show that there is a covenant.
I don't think it was a specifically
So
a covenant.
Hold,
he just says
they said covenant.
no, but listen, I'm telling you.
Hold on. I'm gonna
says-
let you speak. I'm gonna let you speak. Let them finish and break down to me what was the covenant between the Gentiles and the law.
What do you mean? What was the covenant?
Okay, you guys said
I
Okay, go ahead.
They
didn't
get
say it.
saved.
He said it. Really?
They get saved. Listen, they get saved, and then they believe that now I've been saved by Jesus Christ, and I'm gonna continue this walk by the Ten Commandments.
I see that
where.
totally, and that's what the
So-
that's what the Galatians fell
So you're
under.
saying that's what it implies.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I say?
Go ahead.
Yeah, just one quick thing, you know. To me, because I think we're confusing people, bro. When I read this in my simple mind, I see the most important thing why he's using that illustration is to show us the only way out from under an unattainable righteous standard
I
of the
agree.
law
I agree.
is through death,
Yep.
Yeah.
dying in Christ. That's what I see here,
Yes,
bro.
that's what it
And I
is.
agree with you.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, let's just tell
But
people
Ed,
like
my-
simple,
but
like
my
that's
question-
what this
but
is.
my question is, who had that? Who had the standards? Who was privy to the will of God to try to attain that?
We all have an unattainable righteous standard, bro. Like that's why only Christ, dying in Christ, even for a Gentile. How else do we get to heaven? You're saying that only the Jews had that standard
but
to live by?
No. What I'm trying to say is that Paul is ripping down old thoughts.
Yeah, we
And
agree
he's
with you.
okay. So now he's saying that's why when you say the Gentiles had a standard, okay, so then what was the standard?
But what I'm trying to get you to look differently is the main reason why he's giving this illustration, bro, is to show us the only way out
Yes.
from under any law.
Yeah, and that's the main point. That's the point. That's the point that
only
we
way
really.
out.
We get the.
I agree.
Yeah,
but he already established that. You guys understand? He already established. There's a lot of things he already established in the earlier chapters.
And there were also
then-
proselytes there.
Then he. We're not gonna get into it. We get to proselyte next week.
But what you're saying, you're using the law.
said Protestants
specifically,
or proselytes?
Where to me, what I
Proselytes.
see here in total is what the law represents.
Yes.
The righteous standard,
Right.
which was unattainable.
Yes.
And that was only
unless
given to the Jews.
no, it's given to all of us, bro. We all have a. We all cannot live.
Yo, close this
righteously.
eye in prayer. Close this eye in prayer.
Yo, we need a deliverance ministry right now from here.
Yo, close this eye in prayer, B.
Not that I, am shouting that out, but anyway, Heavenly Father, Lord, we're just so grateful just for this ministry. We're grateful, Lord. The people don't even realize that this ministry is more so for us four than anybody else out there, Lord. But we're so thankful that people can listen in and that they can do their own study, their own research, Lord, and just have you speak to them into what your word is trying to say, Lord. And we're grateful. We love each other, Lord. We love that we can sharpen each other like iron, Lord, and come back and do it again next week. So just bless us, bless this this ministry in general. Bless everyone who is a part of it, Lord, from the wives who allow their husbands to come out and do this, Lord, to those helping with the cameras. Lord, we love you and we're grateful that you have allowed us to be part of this ministry. So until next week, see you soon. Amen.
Amen. You guys are off.